The luxury segment in India is growing by leaps and bounds, and all the major global luxury players, especially the German premium automobile trio, are present in the Indian market, fighting it out to spoil the shares. But for the last 2 years, one premium brand, BMW, has beaten its rival German brand, Mercedes-Benz, and is hoping to do it for the third straight year. Buoyed by the sales of about 6,200 units in 2010, BMW India is looking ahead to 2011. The plans include a push to the dealership network, new car launches and continued brand enhancement. Take a look.
Welcome to the latest BMW studio in India. Launched in New Delhi, the studio embodies one of BMW's key values: innovation. What sets this showroom apart is that it is not your average run-of-the-mill dealership, but allows consumers to experience this luxury car in a completely hassle-free environment. This new method of brand building, along with many of the company's innovations in brand management, were brought to life by none other than Uwe Ellingaus, the global head of brand management for BMW. Brandequity caught up with Uwe for a candid conversation on how difficult it is to manage the BMW brand across different markets, the company's India plans, and its key learnings from the Indian consumer.
What has been your key observations on a market like India? What was the consumer, the Indian consumer like?
Yes.
Was it different from many other consumers around the world? And what are your key learnings and takeaways from this market going forward?
Overall, we learned that our Indian prospect customers already have a significant knowledge of the BMW brand, and we underestimated this.
Sure.
I think it's due to their cosmopolitan lifestyle that they already gained experiences with BMWs while abroad. We didn't start from scratch, and we learned that the brand identity of BMWs, the value the BMW brand stands for, works quite well in India. We didn't see a need to reposition, if you want, the BMW brand to appeal to the Indian customer even more than we do in the rest of the world. The one thing that we've underestimated is the importance of value, if you want, because Indian customers want the best value for money, and they determine what this means.
Right.
So in this regard, of course, they buy into a BMW brand world that has to live up to their own expectations.
Right.
And clearly the expectations were and are high, and rightly so, and that's a constant challenge for us to live up to them. So in other words, there is not so much forgiveness in this market as we might have hoped for.
What is the real reason for your victory in India? I mean, Mercedes was here way before you
Yes.
were, and you were a later entrant.
Yes.
Yet you're doing quite well for yourself.
Yes.
Third year in a row, I believe.
Yes.
So what have you done right according to you, and where has your rival gone wrong?
We are the segment leader, and you are right, it's unusual because we are a late entrant into the Indian market. But to be frank, we made this experience in other markets as well, that being the first in the market is not necessarily a good prerequisite for becoming the segment leader. Maybe we took some learnings from Mercedes and made sure that before we enter the Indian market, we have everything in place. The right dealers, properly trained before they open, the right products for the Indian market, the right financing offers available. So being a late entrant is sometimes also a great thing, because you can just learn from mistakes that others have made.
Sure. You know, we've also not seen a lot of your marketing efforts really come to the fore, as opposed to some other automobile companies.
Yes.
You seem to be a lot more low profile. Is
Yes.
that you know, something that is a very conscious
Yes.
strategy on your part?
That's a very good question. It is. I am fully aware that some of our competitors spend far more money on marketing than BMW does. Now, being responsible for steering the BMW brand, I should always ask for more money, as more money means stronger brand.
Right.
But this is simply not our learning. We experienced that having the right message, and that means a relevant message for customers and the right value proposition, is far more important for breaking through the clutter than the mere media budget. Comes on top that what we call below the line, although you and I know that this line between above and below maybe never existed, is in these days more important. And to a certain extent this means invisible marketing, because you don't realize an online campaign, an outdoor campaign, as much as you do traditional print and TV advertising. And there's one thing that really sets the Indian market away from other countries, and this is the importance of events. Events are of utmost importance to attract new customers and also to loyalize existing ones.
Is that also because, you believe that BMW does not need to customize itself in terms of its brand positioning in every country it goes to, and it needs to retain its original authentic image, because that's what sells? Absolutely.
At the very end, this was one of the major reasons why we didn't insist on a local agency in India. There was no need to change the overall direction of our brand communication. And if you just take our Joyce BMW campaign, this is a global campaign that an American ad agency actually invented, and we run it successfully the world over. And that gives me the hope that in terms of future BMW communication, we can indeed be far more global, as the brand image is more or less the same the world over. And our customers in some markets, a great learning by the way from research, were even offended when we tried to portray the BMW brand as part of their society. We, for example, had a couple of motifs in some markets where we were playing with historical motifs and cultural motifs that were considered a sign of respect towards the culture, and the response of the target audience was, nice try BMW, but this is not BMW.
But I do believe that you went into some kind of global realignment of the marketing communication to sharpen BMW's image post the crisis.
No doubt. We experienced that in some markets we had communication running that looked a little fragmented if you compared it to other activities in other markets. If you take international clientele that we have, what is the impression they get when they travel to the US and see a completely different BMW campaign in the paper they read? They might think, why is BMW look so different in here? And that's why I insisted on a realignment in terms of the tonality, the messages, the content, but also the look and feel. We maybe were a little too tolerant to certain local agencies that wanted to try hard and show that they were the most creative agency in town, whereas we needed to keep the global brand as crystal clear as it has always been.
Fair enough. How do you think the growth of digital and social media has impacted your brand?
According to research the world over, the internet is the #1 source of information. 78% of our new car buyers use the internet during the purchasing process. But it is not just the importance as a channel, it is also that it allows customers to compare brands, products and prices much more than in the past. So there are, for example, certain providers of car prices that tell customers exactly what is a good price, an average price, or what is a price too high for a certain car. And this is information that's now in the public domain, and it never was before.
Right.
So once again, we better be serious with the way we portray our prices. You can't hide anything in the digital world any longer. Social media is of particular importance, and I'm very, very pleased that of all car manufacturers in the world, not just the premium ones, tiny little BMW has more Facebook fans than any other brand. Don't ask me for the exact number because it increases by 20,000 a day, but when I left Germany to fly out to India, it was 5.8 million fans on Facebook alone. And many people ask, how on earth did you get to have 5.8 million fans on Facebook alone? And why do other manufacturers, which are much bigger, have less fans? And the answer is quite simple. First of all, we post to our fans. We send relevant content to them, but we don't, let's say, burden them with an information overflow. More importantly, it's all about dialogue in social media. To give you an example that I always use to show the power of social media. You might find people that are mentally so confused that they write a sentence like, BMW, you are arrogant and stupid, full stop, in Facebook. That's of course not true. So you could say, why should we bother? Yeah? Somebody who's just writing this, why should we respond? We try to. We monitor everything that's popping up in Facebook, Twitter and other social media about BMW, and we also try to get back to a respective person, even by saying, so you think we are an arrogant brand or a stupid brand or whatever it is, why? And our experience is customers, I shouldn't say customers, social media users didn't expect this at all and are positively surprised that BMW really bothers to answer their opinion that they expressed on Facebook. And this positive surprise is sometimes the starting point for an ongoing dialogue, and that's another reason why we have so many Facebook fans.
If I had to compare the Mercedes versus the BMW, the BMW experience, and the Mercedes has always been a car where you're driven around. At this point in time, with the make its brand slightly more young and tell people that you can drive the Mercedes too. And the BMW at some level, everybody knows it's a driver's car, but you're also looking at a car that's more plush and luxury as well. So somewhere there's a cross-pollination between both brands happening.
That's a fair observation. That some have now also found out that sportiness and dynamics and the driver orientation are great assets, and try to arouse the impression that they deliver on these characteristics as much as the BMW does. But at the very end, I question that a Me-Too strategy will ever be successful in the automotive market in particular. We also face that in many markets, take China for example, more and more of our customers are the passengers and are sitting in the rear. But this does not mean we change the overall direction of the BMW brand. It just means that when it comes to products, we take more into consideration than in the past what these passengers actually want. And that's why for China there is an extended wheelbase version available for the 3 and the 5 series, because many of our customers sit in the rear. But still, the driver gets the driver orientation, and the overall product characteristics are of a dynamic and comfortable car. So we have no intention to walk away from a traditional BMW strength solely to capture a more comfort-oriented clientele.
Thank you so much, Uwe. Truly a pleasure to have you on Brandequity.
It was a pleasure to be here.